let's actually do this. Let's start. Allow your feet to touch. Bring your head top up. Relax your shoulders. Relax your hips. Bring your hands together in the center. Connect the tongue to the upper palate. Activate the corners of the mouth. Open your vision all the way. Using your stomach to support, relax your lower back. Lifting the base of the torso to breathe. Activate your toes, and then lift the inside of your foot. Pronounce the shape of the arch inside the foot. Take a deep breath and relax. So we're just coming off of another class. So let's do something just quick, something light, easy to warm up. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice a part of something we've been doing in these application classes as a warm-up. So if you take a square step, right, shoulder width wide, shoulder width deep, and then you have your hands shoulder width wide as well. And yeah, Thomas, if you want to practice this, we are just going to, as if you have a stick, something between your hands, and you're drawing a big circle in front of you, shifting from the rear foot to the front foot. You can go at your own pace. You can make your circle, you can make this very wide, you can make it very small, you can go fast or slow. Sink into your foot each time. So sinking back, sink forward. And then put something between your hands. So for the Tai Chi practice, let's talk about the Chi. So imagine you have a Chi ball, and that you can press it forward. When you bring it back, connect it to your body, press it forward. Relax your shoulders. We'll switch. We'll do some on the other side, but first, before we do that, just take your hands and see if you can, if you keep your palms facing each other, see at what distance you can feel the energy from the other hand, right? You may have to be very close. Relax your shoulders, breathe deep, and then expand that. And so you can expand that with your breathing as you inhale. Feel like you can open your palms, open all the pads on your fingers. And then with that same feeling, start to turn. Doesn't matter which foot is forward or back, but try to keep that connection, breathing. This is almost more of a continuation of the Tai Chi class than application, but we're using this as our warm-up. Go as slow as you need to feel that connection between the hands. And keep them as close as you need. Keep the elbows relaxed as well. We said keep the shoulders relaxed, but the insides of the elbows, the hollow space, also carries the chi. So just like you're making a circle. And then relax for a second, come back to the center. The same thing. Let your shoulders relax. In fact, let your elbows touch your sides, the ribs here, and then bring your fingertips together. Right? We talked about this as basic Tai Chi. When you look down, you see a triangle. This is your optimal work zone. So when we talk about the boxing area, this is where you make the most power. It's right in front of your center, right here. So when you're typing at the keyboard, right, is here. When you're cutting in the kitchen, this is where the power is. The more I have to change that shape, that angle, then the more I lose power, right? If I'm writing on the surface that's right in front of me, it's easy. But if I have to change to here, right, the power has to go from my center to there. So working from the center, this is vital for martial art, for application. we're going to first, before we continue with the basic 8, we're going to talk about something we looked at earlier in class. So when you put your elbows to the side and you put your fingertips together and you look down and you see this triangular shape, right? This is your optimal work zone. So if you just put some space in your armpit, the Tai Chi Classic says, like you have space enough for a robin's egg to sit in there without being crushed, so that the arms are full and round with energy, and then feel across the space, feel your own energy. And then even without changing our feet, just start to turn that as a circle. See if you can connect it to your dantian, to your center. And so for people not practicing Tai Chi, if you're watching this video, you like to learn martial art technique, if you don't feel the Chi, it's practice. And if we take a bigger step, the square step, turn going the other way. So if you were going over the top, come in from underneath. So make a circle. And mostly just to charge up, get lots of chi before we start working. But also we can talk about the correct shapes and get into the right mindset. By the way, when you practice martial arts, when you practice Tai Chi, if you like to practice the boxing portion of this, bring your feet together, bring your hands together. Everything should be done with the correct spirit, with the correct attitude. Grip your feet, pull the head top up, relax the brow, open the vision, open the nostrils, connect the tongue, activate corners of the mouth, relax your jaw, chin is tucked, neck going up, chest is hollow, space in the armpit, relax the insides of your elbows. Use your center to support. Unroll the back and allow it to expand, folding the insides of the hips in, knees are relaxed. Pull your heels forward, pull your toes back, make the arch on the inside of your foot open. Lifting the base of the torso while we're breathing, take a deep breath and relax. So what we were just talking about in our last class was one of the last things before we ended class was Fen Shen Pi Shen Shui, right? So this is, if there's somebody that's here, right? Thomas wants to attack. The concept is in the form. Let's actually do the form first. In the form, Thomas is here, and I've done some type of brush knee press, right? He's either done a kick or punch or something, and I brush knee, and I'm going to press here, right? So if you turn just a little bit this way, yeah, right? So you see my hand is for brush knee press is here. So if he controls this wrist, right, his open hand, now he grabs that, and has control of it this way. The idea is for holding the moon in the chest. I want to bring this. You can hold on to it. It's okay, right? Is I'm going to turn the angle of my elbow this way, and keep this elbow under control. I can control through his forearm optimally if I can get it at the elbow or higher, better. But here, and then this hand crossing can come up through the center. Even if he holds on right here, this movement, does that feel comfortable right here? So the concept is, the first one is we have brush knee press, right? So if he's holding on with this hand, we're going to look at both sides, right? Is here, we use like a ban lan shui kind of thing to make it uncomfortable for him to hold on. And we can use his own elbow as the pivot. See, if he stiff arms it, if he tries to control by stiff arming, I can just move my whole body like this. But if he's relaxed, maybe he's a Tai Chi guy, he's loose when he's having this kind of encounter, right? That, see, he's inclined to stiff arm. But let's say he grabs with the other hand. I do brush knee press here, and he grabs with this side, right? When I'm shifting back, and the shift back is here to get him, you see how he moves off of his root? So if I can get him off his root, and then this hand, right, if you can see his, right now, the only thing that's holding the bottom is his thumb. So I'm going to use my arm like a rail, and I'm going to use the back of the knife edge of my hand like a projectile running up the edge of that rail gun to hit those soft points on the back of his hand, under his wrist, and where his knuckles are on his thumb. I'm not going to do it now because that would be very painful, but pop, right? And so, but he may still be attacking, right? So if I press, let's turn just a little bit this way so they can see. And he controls with this hand, right? When I shift back and hit this right here, let's just say, we'll say it works, we'll try it 2 different ways, right? So I do this, and I've broken free. The next thing is I need to control that forearm. So this hand, after I've broken off here, just circling. It can be a very small shape to go over the top. And now from here, this is dangerous for him. Because even if he can punch, I'm going to turn, come forward, and go here, right? So holding the moon in the chest from the first section, 1, this is avoid is shifting back. Make contact is number 2. Advance can have another nada, another make contact. So that's the first. Did we do all 4 sides? We did right side, it worked. Right side, it didn't work. Left side, it worked. Left side. Oh, let's say I'm pressing here, right? And he is crossing over. He's grabbing this way, right? And this is the one where I shift back and hit this way, right? And let's say it doesn't break free. We're going to continue to proceed the same thing. My hand, going to try to cover his elbow, forearm, and then it's difficult to hold on this way, right? And especially if there's some momentum, right? So protect your thumb. But if he's grabbing, right, and I do this, it doesn't work, he's off his root, now I'm going to shift forward, cover, and get to there, right? And because the shape, right, if you hold your arm out, because usually the shape of somebody holding is like this, there's a space between there. And while there's a space between there, just like in the first section, he can use both hands. Thomas is very powerful, right? Very powerful person. Hold on, right? Right? Control the arm. I'm going to use my waist and my elbow, right? You can hold it however you like, right? Yeah, don't injure yourself, right? So this is the same idea. We press, punch. Let's change sides. Block, punch, kick is the same. So in the second section, we have San Tong Bei. I know there's an opponent behind me, right? But I don't know what he's up to. I can feel it. You can hear, right? You know when someone's behind you, like if you're working at the computer, you can sense it. Maybe your headphones are on, but you feel the person's energy. Well, when we're practicing Tai Chi, we have Ting Hua Na Da. Ting is the listening, the meditation. Our brain is already sensing. So I have this opponent. As Thomas is coming, right, I can cover with one side, block, punch, kick. And so even if he approaches my position, this is on one leg. Later in the second section, after we have Jinbu Zai Shui, that one has a rock step that comes back, right? So we step away from it and come back. So let's go the other way again, right? So if I'm here, I think it comes off of needle at the bottom of the C, step forward this way. As Thomas approaches, I can do 1, 2, 3, right? Block, punch, kick. Very sort of, I don't want to say it's basic, but one thing that you can learn from this particular Tai Chi form, the Yang style form, they came through Swing Yang Ho, came from Tenshin Ho, and now Tenshin has many people teaching his form. This block, punch, kick appears a number of times. We said in the first section, it looks like holding the moon in the chest. We have both feet. But we just saw in the second section, after fan through back, we have this one. And then we saw after Jinbu Zai Shui, we have the one that has the step out. And that's the same thing, right? So let's say Thomas is approaching, right? And when I go to turn, so I can make some more distance for myself by stepping back. but I may not be able to if I'm here. Perhaps there's some reason I can't turn, but I press as Thomas is approaching, right? This block punch kick, right, is on one leg. We're covering their weapons. Let's say he has both hands, right? I want to take this hand and, like a blanket, throw it over whatever he's got up. This is the same for holding the moon in the chest. If I can just control his elbow, that might be good because I can use that to steer his torso. But if he has both hands up and I can hook both of those, now I have control of his weapons. And remember that we only need as much space as the fist needs to get through it. So let's get closer to camera. You know, like we said earlier, for when guys want to fight, they're at the whatever, they want to get up in your space like this, right? They're always, what are you going to do about it, right? This kind of thing. So like we said, if you can just keep just one elbow in front this way. So when Thomas wants to bump up against me, now he's just doing this thing now, right? So no matter how much he pushes, I can keep this bumper, right? He can push me all the way in a room, around the room in a circle, right? And I can just keep my distance. Just this is all the distance I need. So hidden inside, holding the moon in the chest, in the form, we can make this nice big round Tai Chi, yin yang paisley looking thing. But when Thomas likes to attack, right, when he wants to come forward, I don't have time to make this big circle because he's pressing on me, right? He's pushing into me. And at some point, if I start to reach the corner, pop. So we take that, when we practice the Tai Chi form very slowly, we find this big circular loop for which to deliver the power. And then when we're writing, you don't have the lined paper with the grid. You're writing on the check, so it's fast. All of that round power comes out in sometimes a quarter circle, right? Because we've practiced it, we've studied it so many times, slowly, right? So, questions, thoughts, comments? Yeah, go ahead. You know what? Here, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't remember if I'm misremembering this. I think I am, but is there ever one of the block punch kicks where the kick is a side kick?
You're thinking about I think you're thinking about something in the cross kick in the third
Yes.
position, right? And there's cross kick, but also after we have opened the bow to shoot an arrow, that the load Bailian can have the sideways thing. So, and yes, so this is, by the way, conceptually, we can turn the direction of any of these, both if they're static, but we can make them moving, turning. So the example I just gave was after we have Jinbu Zaishui, we have straight step punch down, right? The idea would be, and I'll use a stick, be careful, don't step on that, it will roll out from underneath you. But I'm going to use it for line of direction. If Thomas is attacking from that direction, this next Jinbu Zaishui, I can just turn 180 degrees. But let's say, for instance, now Thomas is coming from this direction, and I do my Jinbu Zaishui, and he's approaching. I can just turn, instead of 180, I can just turn the 45, right? Like these techniques aren't like locked to the axis or anything like that. When we practice the Tai Chi form, it's because in a direction, it's to give it some order so that we're not just like, oh, punching over here, punching over there. But when we use it, we can use it anywhere and we can use it any way, right? So, and that's the same if Thomas was to my side and he's attacking and I decide I want to use Jinbu Zaishui, right? That, just like we had said, that may feel like it's coming in from around the corner. And you may, you may make a connection that other people not making, like connect Ban Lan Shui and Jimbu Zai Shui. So Ban Lan Shui goes to the corner. If Tom is cross-grabbing this way, I want to reach to his far shoulder, right? Instead of just trying to reach here. So if I reach to his far shoulder, it's going this way. And you see when I do this, I want to step on his foot and control his elbow here. But what if you combine those when he grabs, right? And you combine Ban with a kick and a hit, right? So this it kind of doesn't make sense for Tai Chi, but in martial arts it makes sense. You're combining two things. In English language we have the letter J and we have the letter W. And those letters never go next to each other, but sometimes we pronounce them. Do you want to go for a drink? You got some water?
Right here, yeah.
Do you want some water? JW, do you wanna, right? So the same. Ban and Fen Shen, Pi Shen Shui, you can blur them together somehow to create your own thing, right? This is the movements that are there are plenty, just like the alphabet that we have now. But a good songwriter, good poet will put them together in a way that is interesting. And if you're keeping the Tai Chi ideas, the neck is straight, the tongue is connected, corners, eyes, ears, mind, breathing, structure, all of that correct, then based on the yin-yang Tai Chi. Let's go back to what we have been traditionally working on, right? Is you have any more questions about that particular? Yeah, this is, and like we said earlier, you can think of this one as a very simple 2 circles, right? Just like this, almost like what we did for the warm-up, but then alternating like this. And we said the boxers have the speed bag, right? Hook, right? Something, power punch. And with your opponent, it's the same thing. They have their guard up. And we want to cover and hit, cover and hit, cover and hit. So it's less, in boxing, offensive, 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 offensive. You're hitting, hitting, hitting. Tai Chi is balance. We use a yin-yang. Protect yourself, then hit. Protect yourself, then hit. So you could think of it as a 2-stroke versus a 4-stroke, right? It takes a little longer, but it makes power different. Let's continue with what we're doing. Just stay relaxed for a second, right? So when we start the Tai Chi form, when we start in Tai Chi Harmony, you don't have to. You can start in type of a Chinese formal type stance, doing the commencement. And we talked about grasp the sparrow's tail right, left, ward off. We talked about left, grasp the sparrow's tail, right, ward off, roll back, press, push, look left, glance right, schwang on is double press, horizontal, split hands, hook, and single whip. I want to practice what we just did there twice more, and while we're practicing that, will be kind of a review session, because I feel like we've covered everything up to hook and whip. And so if there's any questions that you have, I'm going to be thinking about anything that I need to teach that I haven't taught. And we may come back to revisit press from the grip. So if somebody's holding on to you, turning the wrists to be able to push out of that type of thing. So let's go again just from the beginning. We'll start in Tai Chi Harmony, calibrate, just like when you turn on your computer or your car and all of the systems go through the diagnostic. Hold the head top up, check your face, relax your brow, open your vision, open your nostrils, connect the tongue to the upper palate, activate the corners, relax your jaw, straighten the neck, relax the shoulders, center to support, relax the tailbone, grip your feet, opening for commencement. And then breathing deep, right grasp the sparrow's tail, avoid, make contact, advance, stepping forward, ward off, avoid, make contact, advance, Breathing deep. This is roll back. Sometimes roll back to trap in. I think we've talked about that, but we can talk more about that. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Horizontal. Split. Hook. Single whip. And then you can bring your feet together, etc. Yeah, one thing I just thought about there is this rollback. My teacher liked to lock joints, right? A lot of type of joint locking. So I want to talk about that. Let's do the same thing one more time. So if we just start from a regular position, we have a commencement, and keep your arms round. I want to talk about the structure. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Ward off. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Ward off. Roll back. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Horizontal split. Hook. Single whip. All right, so if you've thought about something, you can actually either bookmark it, or if you have something new now. Otherwise, I'm going to talk about rollback. So if Thomas is reaching to my center with his left hand, right? So his power's coming in, right? This is a sort of rollback situation. Or if let's say he could be warding off with his left hand, but his left hand, the power is here. And the idea is that as his power is coming in, for rollback, I want to be open and then closed, and we're starting high, and then we're going to use gravity. So instead of trying to control which way he's going, let's say his power is just coming right towards me this way, I want to bring that power in and steer it down. So instead of just trying to like very in Western culture, you see they have truck commercials, and they show two of these animals with the horns smashing their heads into each other, right? Or they show their trucks smashing into another truck. That's a yang, right? But for the Eastern culture, we want to have a yin and yang, right? So the harder the opponent is, the more direction is there. We don't want to try to stop them this way, because it won't work. You think I can stop Thomas? I can't. Not if we're just trying to do this, Thomas will break my skull. But if I can be soft and accommodate his power, then there's some chance to change the dynamic of the power. So the rollback is the epitome of that, right? Ward off is the epitome of the yang, right? Is my opponent is there, and I like to take their space, just like a billiard ball knocks one out of the other place. He's here, I either step into his center, right, creating some kind of discomfort here, or if I step behind him this way and take his space, right, it's a ward off. I just move in and boom, he's bumped out. So this is the yang. Rollback is the ultimate opposite. So as his power comes in, he can never find my center, right? No matter how much he reaches, my center is trying to get away from his power coming in. But in addition to going away, it's also sinking, right? The ward-off power is moving forward and going up. It's exploding, right? I go in and take over the space. But rollback is going back and sinking. But we don't want to do this with our posture. It's weak, and in addition, if my opponent catches me like this, I have no structural power to recover. So the concept is his power is coming in, right? let's say he's going from my center line, is this movement is going down and turning. So I want to allow the power to come in, but instead of trying to smash up against it, I want to gently sort of steer it, right? And one of the examples that I like to use in the Tai Chi Classics, just relax for a second. In the Tai Chi Classics, it says we use 4 ounces to defeat 1,000 pounds. How is that possible, right? Students have asked this. Think of a lot of people studying Tai Chi. If you know anything about the comic for Superman, right? This is a DC comic from the United States. There's a movie, I think it was maybe in the 80s, where Superman, some evil villain fires a nuclear rocket to do some kind of destruction. And Superman basically, while the rocket's traveling, just steers it just a little bit, just to veer it off the course, right? Doesn't have to blow it up, doesn't have to like impact into the thing to create the big thing, but instead steer it this way and do something else. I don't remember the movie, it was a very long time ago. And the plot, by the way, was to use the nuclear thing for real estate. I don't remember. The concept is 4 ounces defeats 1,000 pounds. If the opponent is charging this way, just like a bullfighter, literal 1,000 pounds, as the bull is charging, the bullfighter uses the minimum amount of effort to wave his flag to cause the bull to go through and launch his arrow to do to finish the work. So the same way when our opponent is charging, right? Doesn't matter how big, they have 1,000 pounds of force coming in. We want to simply redirect that a little bit. We don't have to stop it. It's impossible. You can't stand in front of a freight train, right? You get knocked over. But if you understand the speed at which the train is coming, and you can divert it just this much. This is when we practice, if Thomas is here. In the first section, we have something called So Wei Pi Pa, which is play the harp. And I tell students, I say, have your hand coming just past your center line this way. And the idea is if Thomas is punching at my face, right, he's punching at my nose, I don't have to move his hand. Let's turn a little bit more this way so that we're on camera, like sort of directly lined up. I don't need to move his hand like way out here or like block it way over here. All I need to do is here there's danger because it's right in my center line. But if I can move it, his elbow, just relax for a second, right? Is if I can just move his elbow just to there, all I need to do, right? Let's do it. Let's go this way. See if he's punching right here at the center. If I just move his elbow by like 2 inches here, that's all I need to get into the next one, right? So this is the Tai Chi idea, is for So Wei Pi Pa, play the harp. As the power's coming in, I just need to move it that far. Then there's no danger. All of that, he can swing into the fences all the way over here. And once that's the case, I have access to the back, to the dragon gate, right? Something like this. So Wei Pi Pa. Rush press. Rollback. How's that? I was like, why are we talking about that? So for rollback, the same thing. If his power is coming in, I just need to change it that much. Or change my position a little bit, right? Like the idea of when a car is, you're walking on the street and there's a car. They have no idea. Perhaps they have medical condition, they had a stroke, something, they're texting, they can't see you. And when the car is coming, it's very heavy, it's 1,000 pounds. But have you ever heard stories that says, I was in the car accident, I just relaxed. Your body just roll right off the side. In fact, the Chinese have a proverb. I don't know if it's in the Tai Chi Classics or it's just Kung Fu book, but it says there was a nobleman, and he was drinking and driving home on the carriage, and fell out the side of the carriage, off on the side of the ditch. And when the drivers got back to the place, they found that the governor or whatever was not inside the carriage. They said, we're going to be in so much trouble. He's dead. He fell out. So they went back up the trail and they found him, and he's happy. And they said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I didn't feel anything." Right? This is the idea. If you can be so relaxed, right? You can be so that when a car is coming, how is it possible? People experiencing it. Not very common because we can't relax. The concept is, if Thomas, for Rollback, as his power is coming to my center, I make all of this space, connect to it, and then at least leading the power down and in its direction that it's already going. So if you watch the shape, it's like a yin-yang. It's like an S shape. And so, in fact, the more I connect his power to the S shape, if he's coming something like this, okay, great. We'll continue to follow the same power just so that we can redirect it, again, just to here, right? Here to here is all the space that I need to get, just to be safe, right? It's more comfortable to have it over here, but that's why it's self-defense, because somebody else is trying to invade for our comfort. So Rollback we've talked about. I just want to talk about rolling the wrist, and this will actually lead us to a little bit of joint locking. So if I just want to, for Rollback, there's sort of two different ways I can do the ending for Rollback, right? So once I've avoided and I make contact here, I can just steer his power and send him on his way, right? Kind of like if you've ever seen the guys do the hammer throw or the weight throw, where they have to get a heavy weight and then they start to do this. That heavy weight out there you could use Rollback in this fashion. So if we're in a small space and I don't have a lot of opportunity, I may use the wall to assist me. So as his power comes in, I may, as a Rollback, send him into the wall, right? Borrow his own power, just like the bull is charging. Well, if the bullfighter is in front of a wall and puts his flag up and the bull comes and he moves and the bull runs into the wall, that would be a surprise for the bull and perhaps create some damage. So the same way with the opponent, we can just get out of the way and help steer them into something that's beneficial to us, right? But the other way to sort of end the application for Rollback is to not disconnect from the opponent. So I'm here minding my own business, and here comes Thomas. And so from here, I'm actually rolling his wrist and his elbow, right? So I want to try to turn his elbow and his wrist as much as possible. You can see where that starts to get into one of these kind of like things, right? So let's reverse, right? So let's see, it's your left hand. So if I do this, and Thomas, connect, and then with the other side, you're turning this way, right? You can roll my wrist and my elbow and potentially get it into here, right? This kind of arm lock. So the same as the power, if we go slowly, right? You're reaching to the center, is I can start to turn to roll this here, and maybe even get to start to lock, an arm lock this way, right? There's a third way that Rollback can end, and this would be a sort of a good time to talk about. A lot of the Tai Chi postures can have multiple applications. So think of each posture like a screwdriver, and you can change the end of it and put a different one in. We've looked at how Rollback starts, the handle for Rollback, right? We avoid, we might make contact, and then there's one ending where we throw. The next one, we're trapping, locking this way, right? Locking their joints. What's another way it can happen? Is power is coming in this way. We can turn, lock, and drive his power to the ground, right? Throw him to the ground. There's another way we can make it end, right? Is same thing, his power is coming here, set him upright, so that instead of driving him into the ground, into the wall, something like this, we can use the same S shape to set him up correctly, right? So if you relax for a second. So this again, where Tai Chi is different from many, many other martial arts. Some other martial arts, they say when the opponent, when they first attack, break and start destroying whatever. but it's not very effective, like we said, if you have friends, relatives, somebody has some type of accident, they fall, you don't break their joints and start pounding them, right? So for Tai Chi, when we're practicing all of this stuff, when we're practicing the rollback, you're cultivating your leg power and your spinal alignment power. The arms sort of along for the ride. Your body is the most powerful, right? The waist here is the most powerful. This is pretty strong, and this is even stronger, but this is, when we're doing these applications, the waist turn, the structure, the power to defeat a larger opponent is coming from the structure, right? The same way a small bulldozer can knock over a big building because the bulldozer has the correct geometry to make the power to pull at the root or the top of the building, whatever the case is, however they choose to destroy the building. What else? What did we miss? Did we talk? We haven't talked about hook and whip two-player. I think maybe a little bit last week, right? So we talked about hook and whip. If Thomas is just regular, right, punch, like somebody wants to punch, the same thing. This hook only needs to get here, but for this one we need to go a little further. If I don't control his elbow, right, when I do this hook, he's just going to bend his elbow right into my face, like that, right? So for this kind of hook, if he's punching here, when I do this hook, I have to make sure this is, so relax for a second. So this is, when we're in the form, when we're doing this, I show my hand underneath it this way, right? Like there's a ball, some round shape here that I'm holding. But you see in the form, that vertical shape is changed, right? So as he's punching, this hook is here, but I have to bring this supporting hand here, right, to cover his elbow. Because if I don't, let's reverse. Let's say, can you do hook, right? You know, the one I'm showing right now is this.
You move your hand out of the way.
Yeah, right. So if I punch this way, right here, it's a little different, but the idea is the same. He's moved my hand out of the way, but he doesn't have control of my elbow, which means I'm going to just drop an elbow straight forward with my weight behind it. Let's try from this side, right? So if I punch and you block, it almost doesn't matter. See here, he is already starting to think about that elbow. But if his arm was vertical, right, like this, all I have to do is turn my waist and my shoulders, and I'm in the center. So this is one of the sort of Tai Chi Chuan, the supreme boxing art technique, says this: when my opponent folds my fingers, right, I want to poke his eyes out or jam him in his nose or his nostrils or fish hook him in the mouth or ear or something. And when I go to press, he bends my fingers. No, to go the other way, thanks. Yeah. It says, when he bends your fingers, use your knuckles. So now I want to punch. And it says, when he's bend your knuckles, right, he turns my whole hand down, I'm going to use my wrist, right, like this to pop. And then once he's controlled my wrist, I'm going to use my elbow. But if he's controlled my elbow, I'm going to use my shoulder. If he controls my shoulder, I'm going to use my head, right? If he's controlled my head, I have big problems. So this is, it doesn't have a name. It's written in the Tai Chi classics. There's a poem, and it says, when my opponent folds my finger joints, I use my hand joints. And when he's folded my hand joints, I use my wrist. When he's folded my wrist, I use my elbow. So this is my line of defense. Hey, buddy, right here. Once let's say he's cleared my hand off of his chest, right? There's my next one. And let's say he's moved that out of the way. Shoulder into his center. Let's say he's got that protected. Sorry, thank you, right? So this is the idea, is we're always able to attack all the way into the center. Once these joints fold, we still have headbutting as last resort. By the way, this actually leads us to the sort of when we talk about the different ways that we can have the ending for each one, right? For brush knee press, is that a G press, or is it an on press, or is it a ward off expansion, right? one of the 8 powers that we don't talk about, that we don't actually demonstrate anywhere in the form, is elbow power. So we said there's Pong is maximum yang, Li, roll back is maximum yin, and then Ji, center, on, the ends. Think of a slinky that's attached to one end and the other end, right? If you have to move your car, you want to get connected to the ground in the car, and everything between those 2 points of contact are designed to push. So just the ends working, right? And then we had talked about shoulder bump, which is all the top going this way. We talked about split, Leah, 6 directions, right? X, positive, negative, Y, positive, negative, Z, positive, negative, 6 direction turning when you split anything. Leah, so is hook, grabbing, grasping, pluck. We don't actually grasp. Remember, as soon as you grasp, the opponent can find your center. So we only ever, like a socket that has an open end, we clamp on so that we can hook any of the edges, and if it becomes too dangerous, easy to let go, right? So we're not being dragged or being pulled by a strong force. And what else? The only other one that we haven't talked about yet is elbow power. And I'm actually not going to demonstrate any of the techniques for it, because Tai Chi is considered to be gentleman's boxing art, right? So this is like I was saying a second ago, we can use the technique for something positive. But oftentimes the techniques, when we have the interchangeable thing, elbow can be hidden anywhere in every technique, right? When we have grasp the sparrow's tail, and when we have ward off, and when we roll back to trap in, G to press, that's very pointy. Elbows stop fights. So the idea is with the elbow technique, if like the same thing, like let's say I'm doing ward off, as I instead of trying to use my whole body this way, elbow in here. The complementary, where does it appear? Because like we said, we don't talk about it, but we know mathematically it appears with the trigrams. What is the complement for the elbow? Is shoulder bump. So look left and glance right contain the shoulder block. So if, let's turn this way. Thomas wants to take his right shoulder and drive it into my chest. He's doing a hockey check as such, right? Remember, we said the techniques can complement each other. And the way that I've taught to sort of get around that is if I make a cushion, remember that buffer zone between him and I, and then this other hand is going to come behind to help steer. But that's me turning to the left. Same thing, if he's shoulder checking to my center here, I can drive that elbow into his sternum this way, right? So instead of being the gentleman's boxing art, whereas the power comes in, I can buffer him and maybe even help set him back upright, or driving him to the ground. We can do some very serious, right? So let's use the same direction because the camera can see what's happening, right? As his power is coming this way, our shoulders matching. As his shoulders turn, so do mine, but mine has a stump, has a short branch coming off the stump. How many of you ever run into a side of a tree or a branch that's it's like a wall, right? So as his power comes in, instead of buffering, the wave is coming in, I'm gonna break the wave up as it comes in using the elbow. And by the way, relax for a second. TC would say the elbow is anywhere in any direction. He says the elbow can go forward, the elbow can go sideways, the elbow can go back, somebody comes in behind you. Uppercut, down, across, any way you can imagine. Elbow's very powerful, and we don't usually practice for that. So, question, yes, please.
So Pong Ri Chien, Tsai Lei Tso Kao, which one of those in particular relates to the elbow? Or all?
So
Yeah.
is elbow. That's
Zo.
yeah, that's elbow power. So
And what's the trigram for that? Do you remember the trigram, Brian?
The trigram is the opposite one for cow. Cow and zo go together. This is, by the way, Aaron, I don't actually know if you know about this, but before TC passed, he apparently was testing everybody. You can talk to Juco about this, but he told me that I only missed, like, out of his whole test, the only thing I missed was zo and cow. Their trigrams I got mixed up. Which one is which, but I know I have to look at a chart because it's the only two that I missed on his thing. But if cow is easy to find. I think cow is solid split, which means zo is solid split. If I remember correctly, I don't want to give bad information, right? But the idea is for flying mountain, for cow, we have flat, and the bottom is broken, which means the feet are moving. So my upper body is always solid. Whereas with the elbow strike, right, is my feet are rooted, but my waist and my shoulder turning. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. I remember.
In the future. Again, people watching at home, let's actually close because I think it's time. Unless you have something else. I really appreciate the questions. It's good because I think a lot of people are benefiting. Let's just close in Tai Chi Harmony and call it good. Allow your feet to touch. Bring your head top up. Relax your shoulders. Sink your tailbone. Bring your hands together in the center. And then allow your eyes to close partway. Move your mind into the dantian, into your belly button. And imagine earlier we did some Qigong, and then we did some martial arts. So imagine all of that energy, all the movement, all of the ideas, even the concepts. Maybe you didn't fully grasp it in class. Later, it's in storage, will come out. Take a deep breath. Looking inside, internally, take a second to smile to yourself. Take a second to give thanks to yourself for your energy, your mind, your spirit, your chi, your body. One long last deep breath, and that's it. Call text. Right. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See you later.